Hi and welcome. In this video I'm going to be unboxing and having a look at the Adidas Adizero Ambition Black Panther Edition 2.0 mid-distance spikes. Adidas or Adidas, however you want to call them a mid-distance and steeplechase spike. So from 800 meters onwards, not to be confused with the Adidas Adizero Prime SP 2.0 sprinting spikes. They look very similar, but they are quite different, and I'll go through the differences between them and also the difference between mid-distance and sprinting spikes. Unboxing. I will have to admit something. I already have unboxed this before and did a video. Wasn't happy with it, scrapped it all, and I'm starting again. So reboxed it. So ignore that fact. Okay, so let's start.
Unboxing.
Wakanda forever, baby.
Wakanda forever.
Right.
Crinkle, crinkle, little star, how I crinkle, how you are. Crinkle, of the paper.
Oh wow, it's like I've never seen it before. So here they are. Let me just zoom in.
Zoom.
Let's do a 360.
Wow.
Let me zoom in on this bit.
Zoom.
Open up. Shove them all together. Together forever.
Zoom.
They look right sleek, I tell you. Right sleek.
Wow.
Yeah, you get the gist. Okay, so let's look at the outer sole. Let's zoom out a little bit. So that's the outer sole there. Looks pretty cool. Now what I'm going to do now is show you the inside. It says on the inside, Wakanda forever. And the other one also says it, but it's further in.
Wakanda forever.
So subtle little things. Okay, what comes with it? We get 2 spike pins and spike keys, which is generous. So that's that. So, for those who know me, and if you've seen my videos, you'll know that I'm a sprinter and not a mid-distance runner. So why did I buy these? Well, first of all, my old sprinting spikes are worn. So I'll just show you the ones that I'm wearing in training, the Pumas. They're starting to look, the heel is coming off in this one. And they're not great spikes really. I needed to get an upgrade really. I've also got, obviously, the Nikes and my trusty old Adizero. I don't wear both of these because, first of all, the Nikes are quite delicate spikes really. I mean, they're not the most robust thing really. So if I zoom in, they're known to basically have the air bubble burst, and the outer plate over here cracks. So where you see that foam over here and then the air bubble over here, that gap between them is kind of a weak point and it cracks over there really. So that's why I don't wear these. I only wear the actual Nikes in when I'm doing competitions, or when I'm training just before competition. I want to get an idea about pacing really. So that's that. And the Adizeros, these are the original ones. These have permanent spike pins on the actual outer sole there, so they're worn quite a bit, and I don't want to wear them more unnecessarily really, because they're still competing things. They're still great even though they're quite worn. But yeah, so that's why I had to buy another pair of spikes. The question you asked though, why am I buying some mid-distance spikes? Well, a friend of mine advised me to actually get these. He's a 400 meter sprinter, and I'm getting into 400 meter sprinting. He actually has the sprinting version of these, which is the Prime SP 2.0s, and he also has the Ambitions. So on days when he's doing a slower pace run, maybe sub 90, maybe 80% kind of thing, he'll use the Ambitions, and on days where he's going quicker, he'll use the Prime SP 2.0s. It's actually quite a stiff plate on this spike, so it's actually stiffer than the Pumas, so I could still use them as like a sprinting spike. But yeah, that's the reason why I'm trying these spikes on, really. Actually, I'm just going to bring back the Max Flight.
Max Flight.
Now, basically, the equivalent to the Max Flies in the Adidas range is the sprinting version of these, which is the Prime SP 2.0s. These have gone up in price to like £220. I don't know how much the Prime SP 2.0s cost, really, because you can't find them on the internet, really.
I managed to find it in the end. They're £160, but they're sold out. As I was editing this video, a new colour came out, which is the turquoise ones, and those are £170, but they went out of stock, but they keep on coming in and out of stock at the time of doing this video.
The equivalent to these in the actual Nike spikes is the Air Zoom Victories, and those also have gone up in price to like 220 quid, really. If you look at the price of this spike, the Adidas spike, it's 100 quid, really. And with a discount from the Adidas store, I got it for 80 quid.
Again, as I was editing the video, the Ambitions also came in the turquoise colour, but they went up in price from 100 to £120.
And you can even get it for like 60 quid if you wanted, or 60 pounds, if you wanted to get a different colour, really. I found them also as little as £40, really. So they're much, much cheaper than their counterpart in the Nike range, really. It'd be interesting to know if the Nikes are that much better, or if they're even better at all, really. But the price difference is so massive, really, considering they're kind of like for likes, from what I can gather, really. Okay, so let's look at the design and the features of this spike. So if we look at it, you can see there, I'll zoom in.
Zoom.
You can see the Light Strike Pro foam.
Lightning.
This is supposed to give you energy return when it's compressed. So as you're landing on the ground and pushing force into the ground, it compresses the foam, and as you're getting out onto the toe out phase and you're coming out, it releases that energy which propels you forward. So that's the whole thought process behind this, really. So the next thing we'll talk about is the upper bit, which is a breathable mesh. It's a textile upper mesh. The thought process with this is some athletes won't wear socks when they're using these spikes, so this gives you ventilation. The next thing I'll talk about is the spike pins. So this has 5 spike pins, and if you look at it, it's kind of like in a U shape. So this tends to be a mid-distance kind of pattern for spikes. So if I compare this to a sprint spike, see a couple of them, you see that the sprint spikes have a different kind of style, really. Let's see if we can zoom in.
Zoom.
So you can see there the sprint spikes, let's put the sprint spikes. They actually have, towards where the ball of the foot is, they have an extra pin. I mean, the Pumas have actually 4. So there's a lot of emphasis with sprint spikes because the landing on the ball of the foot really is really important. So there's more pins in that area, really. So next thing we'll look at is you can see there's quite a bit of grip on these spikes compared to the sprint spikes, because with sprint spikes they don't have that much grip at the outer sole because you're supposed to land on the ball of the foot with a sprint spike, and the heel should never touch the ground. But with mid-distance spikes, the heel will inevitably make contact with the ground, and that's why you need the grip there. Now, moving on to that, talking about the heel, this has some kind of heel protection there. So if you look at that and I squeeze that, there's a bit of padding in there for protection. So you can kind of squeeze that, and there's a little bit of protection there. With sprint spikes, you don't have any, really. So those are the key things. I will say as well, one really good feature about these spikes, and also the sprint version of these, is it has an extra set of holes for the shoelaces. So this means you can either have it narrow fitting or wide fitting, which is a really, really excellent idea, really. Now, if I zoom out and I show you the inner lining, there's an inner lining in there. So this also has an inner lining for a comfortable fit.
Now, the only issue with this is I've heard that this can tear and rip by just people wearing them, so you've got to be quite careful. But I think if you're careful, it shouldn't be an issue, really.
So we've talked about the foam,
Lightning.
the outer sole, how they're different to sprint spikes. There's one other thing that you can't see, and it's the spike plate. the actual spike plate is embedded in the middle there, somewhere in the midsole. And what Adidas say is it's a synthetic sole with spike plate internal wishbone. So some kind of wishbone spike plate on these, really. I'd be interested to see what they're like on the inside and how they look. But it certainly is quite a stiff spike. So I'm quite surprised that a mid-distance spike is this kind of stiff, really. It's quite an aggressive spike, really. And it seems like a competition kind of spike, really. But yeah, that's that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to weigh them. Okay, before I weigh them, I need to add some spike pins. So I'm going to add 5 spike pins.
Jaldi.
And I'll put them in here like this, just for some speed.
So they weigh about 181 grams.
I will say actually, what's really interesting with these spikes is the size. So traditionally, Adidas are a tight fit, with a narrow fit when you're wearing them. And the fit, usually you have to get like half a size up. So these are a 10.5 UK size, where these are a size 10 UK size. I've actually worn these before and they fit nicely, really. They're not even that difficult to put on, really. So that's a really strange thing, really. I would have thought that would be the same across the board, really. So now let's talk about the differences between the Prime SP 2.0s and the Ambition spikes. Okay, so how do the mid-distance Ambition spikes compare to the Prime SP 2.0 sprinting spikes? Well, there's a great video on the Running Warehouse's YouTube page where they interview Fabian, who's the Director of Athlete Services at Adidas, and he breaks down the Prime SP 2.0 sprinting spikes into quite a bit of detail, and they briefly cover the Ambition spikes, so it's worth checking that video. I'll leave a link in the description below.
So just to interrupt, one of my friends managed to get hold of the new Prime SP 2.0 sprinting spikes in the new colour, so here's a quick look at them.
So the first thing we'll look at is the Light Strike Pro foam insert. So on the Ambition, this one, it is a less dense version than the one on the Prime SP 2.0s. So the Prime SP 2.0 sprinting spikes have got a bit more energy return than these ones. So if we then look at the outer sole is completely different on both spikes. This has in 2 segments. You've got that U shape where you've got your 5 spike pins, where the Prime SP 2.0 has 6 spike pins. This also has grip in the mid section and the rear section. With the Prime SP 2.0 is one continuous black plate that runs across the entire bottom of the spike. It doesn't have that much grip in it compared to this one. This has heel protection in it, a bit of cushioning, where the Prime SP 2.0 doesn't have that. Now if you look at the side of profile of the both spikes, they look similar, so you think that the Prime SP 2.0 has heel protection, but it actually isn't. That segment over there on the Prime SP 2.0s, from what I can gather, is a frame for stabilizing the shoe. The Prime SP 2.0 has toe protection at the front because it's a sprinting spike. So with sprinting spikes, you can use your blocks. So as you're coming out of the blocks, you drag your back foot. Some people drag their back foot on the floor and they scrape it to try and keep low. Not everyone does that. I myself do that. So if I show you my Puma spikes and I zoom in a little bit, you'll see that one side has got a bit more wear than the other because I drag my foot. So it's designed for that. Really good feature to have on a sprinting spike, especially when you're spending that much money on it. Really, you want to get as much protection as you can, really. So these are not sprinting spikes. So from 800 meters onwards, you don't use blocks, and 400 meters and below, you use blocks. So, but I actually seen people use these spikes in sprinting in 60 meters and 200 meters, and I'm not surprised because this is quite a stiff kind of spike. It's got that foam energy release. So I'm not surprised that people use these in shorter distances, really. The other thing I'll say with the Prime SP 2.0, it's the spike, or I should say the outer sole plate is got this designed in a way where it's got this rocker geometry motion. So on the sprint version of these, Adidas have done a lot of research on how to land, you place your foot when you go on the ground, and it's a way to try and lose the least amount of energy. So it's got an efficient way to kind of roll into the ground with this rocker geometry motion on the Prime spikes. The last thing I'll talk about is the spike plates. So this has an internal wishbone, as they say on the web page. I don't exactly know what that looks like. I mean, I know it looks like a wishbone, but I don't know how it compares to the Prime SP 2.0 spikes. You could see the way the spike plate looks like on the Prime SP 2.0 spikes on the Running Warehouse's webpage. But yeah, that's something I'm interested to find out a bit more about the spike plate, which is a subject for another video.
So I made the table with the differences between both spikes. You can pause it if you want to have a look at it.
But yeah, that's that really. So the next thing for me to do really is to try them on and see how they are in training. But that'll be another subject for another video. So in the meantime, Wakanda forever.